Here we go. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us for our info session on the Nourish retreat. And before we dive in, just want to really say thank you so much for taking time to explore this option for a way for you to go from stressed out to rejuvenated in 3 days with us. This will be August 13th through 16th in Grand Lake, Colorado at Shadow Cliff Mountain Lodge. So my name is Joan Gregerson. I'm the owner of Positive Energy Works. And Phyllis, how about introducing yourself as well?
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Phyllis Guy, and I am so happy to be co-hosting this retreat with Joan. My company is Natural Body Wisdom. I'm a mind-body nutrition coach, and I help people get reconnected to their bodies. And I help people with emotional eating challenges. A lot of people do stress eating, so that's why we're doing this retreat, to lower the stress and take care of some of those stressful eating situations and help you get through those. So, yeah.
So. That's great. Yeah, and it's really neat. I mean, Phyllis and I feel very happy to be doing this together because we both work on the same bigger picture of helping people come to a place of peace around their eating and their bodies, and which ultimately means their lives, that they're able to really make a bigger impact with your life. So it's a big deal. We have slightly different techniques that we use, which is really fun for both of us to learn from each other, and can't wait to work with you and see what all comes up. So want to just go ahead and first give you a quick overview of the retreat, and then we'll go into a few more details after that. So I know that you, if you're watching this video, you might be rushing around and just got here. So before we dive in, I'm just going to invite you to take a few deep breaths. And I always like to use the Thich Nhat Hanh technique of when you're breathing in, you say breathing in. And when you're breathing out, you say inside to yourself, breathing out. So I'll just give you a second there to just go ahead and take a few deep breaths, and then we'll dive in. Okay, all right. So let's see. So I think probably the easiest way to dive in is first tell you just a little bit about the retreat location. I'm just so excited that we were able to secure this place for these amazing dates right in the middle of August. So this is going to be the hottest time of year to be living in the city or anywhere really in North America. And so the lodge is located at 8,500 feet in Grand Lake, Colorado. And Grand Lake is this historic mountain town, and the lodge itself is just about 3 blocks away from the lake. And you're just surrounded by trees and right next to Rocky Mountain National Park. So we feel very confident that even just getting there is going to be just this huge blessing for ourselves as well as for everybody who attends. Then of all the places on the facility, they have on the property, they have one lodge that is called Cliffside Lodge, and this has 7 rooms and a kitchen and an upstairs meeting space. And that's the place that we have. So I think it's a really nice size, and we feel very excited to have this spot. So that's the location. You want to allow about 2.5 hours to get there from Denver, and the retreat starts at 3 p.m. on Sunday. We will have, every day we'll have something called Happiness Hour. And I think Phyllis is going to talk a little bit more about some of the ideas that we have, what we'll do during that time. So that's at 5 o'clock, dinner at 6. And a really neat thing about this location is that there's something called the Compassionate Kitchen. So this is a group of people that will be preparing our food for us. And it's a really neat community experience because we will also be asked to help take turns doing cleanup. And in some cases, the people there will, if their schedule allows, they'll sit down and eat with us. And this really reinforces everything that I think is important about food is really respecting the food and all the effort that goes into that and cherishing everybody and everything in that process. So it's just by design, it's so cool. So we don't have to figure out all the food, but we are assured that it's going to be, mostly local, mostly sustainable, and lovingly prepared. We do have one meal that we're going to prepare together, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. So then every morning we'll start with around 7:30. We have a half hour for movement and meditation. And it's funny, I've been doing a lot of pet sitting lately, and I just see these pets as they wake up, that they just do their stretching and they, just wriggle around. And that's what we're just, part of what our design is that we're helping you design or build these techniques that you can then bring back to your life, so that it's not only these 3 amazing days in the mountains, but it's really setting the foundation so that when you come back to your daily life, that you remember, oh yeah, this would just feel great to stretch and have a few minutes of meditation in the morning. So that's how we'll start. And we'll have breakfast, then we have time for hiking. And we've got a lot of different ways we can do that. We can set it up so that people that want to go further can do so. So we'll start off together, and then we'll have some points where some folks might be, really more adventurous and want a vigorous workout, and others want to, just come back and take it easier. So whichever camp you're in, we've got a design that will fit your needs. Then we have lunch, and in the afternoon we have time for art. I would kind of like to think of it as art therapy because, we're just going to have time to do some simple exercises. For example, just some watercolor painting of those coloring postcards. And then as we're doing that, we're going to have time to talk, and you might decide to come up with a quote that you want to write on that postcard and then send it back to you. So you can take this beautiful moment and then bring it back to your life once you're at home. It's like, oh yeah, I wanted to remember to do this, to focus on this. So, we'll have lots of time that's just kind of free and easy, where we have a little bit of structure, but still enough time to talk about whatever is coming up for you. Then in the afternoon, there's a couple hours of free time in the schedule before we start in on happiness hour and dinner. And then in the evenings, gosh, it's just going to be so lovely that we're so close to the town. So we can walk into town, or we can sit around the campfire if the fire restrictions don't preclude that. If people want to sing or tell stories or just do almost nothing and look at the stars. All of those would be really, really cool options. And so, you have choices throughout that. So that's pretty much the schedule. And the retreat ends on Wednesday at 10 a.m. So we'll have the morning movement and meditation, and then breakfast, and then you can get on your way. And if you want to spend another day hiking in Rocky Mountain National Park, you're right there. So there's a few people that have talked about kind of extending their time. So that's definitely an option. So that's kind of an overview of that. And I want to turn it back to Phyllis now to talk about some ideas of the things that you like to work with people on, and whether that could fit into the happiness hour. By the way, the retreat is a sober retreat. So it's an opportunity to to use some different skills for coping with stress, which is part of what we want to experiment with. So take it away.
All right. Well, before I do that, a couple questions came up as you were talking.
Okay, great. Yeah.
Is there a limit to the number of people? Since you said it's a 7-bedroom, is that what you said?
Yes, exactly. So the number of participants is limited to 14. And the bedrooms are set up to either be doubles or triples. So we are going to, for the most part, just do them as doubles. But if somebody wants to do a triple, then we have that option as well.
Great. And then food, you said it's local, sustainable. What about people who have allergies?
Okay, so this is great. So if you have a specific request for food, so if you have allergies or if you're vegetarian or something, then during as we're getting you all registered and all set up, then we'll be asking you about those dietary restrictions. And the kitchen said as long as they know just a couple weeks in advance, then they are able to accommodate. The one thing I would say though is if there's a big, if someone has something that is very critical, so if you have the tiniest bit of something and it would make you deathly ill, then Shadowcliff said in that case, they recommend you prepare your own food. And we do have a kitchen there, a full kitchen. So you definitely have that option. So for most people, there will be plenty of options to suit your needs. But if you need to be super careful to ensure your health, then we recommend that you prepare your own food, and there's a place to do that.
Okay, good to know. And then the start time on the 13th?
The start time, the check-in is 3 p.m.
Okay.
3 p.m. check-in. Thank you.
Yeah. And then for me, when somebody says art, it kind of causes stress. So someone define art and be able to benefit from this art session, creative session.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a great question. And the reason that I specifically designed a time for art in there is when I'm doing my coaching programs, we do a lot of different assessments, and you probably also do, Phyllis. And the one thing that I've seen consistently from the people that I've been working with is they will look at what they're doing and say, okay, that I'm surprised the 2 areas that are low are creativity and spirituality. And so I thought that was an interesting pattern when I saw that coming up. And right, and it's funny because, if you ask a 3-year-old to draw a giraffe, they will draw it.
Right.
Boom. But, you ask someone that is past the age of 40 or maybe even 20 to draw a giraffe, and it's like, I can't draw a giraffe. So that's interesting. How did we know at 3? How did we have confidence at 3 that we could draw a giraffe and not at some later date? But we won't be drawing giraffes. So you can, but this thing that I've learned, and I learned it from my sister, who is an art teacher, and so she has a lot of experience with this, of people coming to art as with some hesitation, some trepidation. And so this thing of having a little postcard and some watercolor paints, these are the kinds of watercolor paints that you used in 3rd grade, with a little brush and the 8 different little colors. That just taking something that easy, because honestly, those coloring books, they make me crazy. That's so detailed and so time consuming, right, that causes me stress. So this is something that you can do in anywhere from 10 minutes to an hour if you want to go really detailed. And so the idea is you're just playing around with it, and at the end, if you don't like it, then you have wasted this big of a piece of paper. It's not a big deal. and the fact that it on the reverse it is a postcard, so that you can write a message, you can send it to yourself, you can send it to someone else. The other day I did one that was an octopus sitting on this big pile of treasure, and so I looked up a quote. I found a quote about what your treasure is, and so it was the obstacles are where you'll find your treasure. And it was a quote by Joseph Campbell. And then I sent it to one of my friends who's a big Joseph Campbell fan. So it's just that I think it's kind of like meditation in that it's a time to express yourself without accomplishing anything.
Mm-hmm.
That is kind of not trying to be productive every moment.
Right.
So doing it in a different way. So it'll be like that, and that people who want to go off and maybe do something in silence can, and the rest of us will be just kind of sitting around chatting and goofing around. So yeah, no stress.
All right. Thank you. Okay, so back to my ideas. I did a retreat myself about a year ago and had really good success in the opening parts where we all come together and get to know each other better. And so I have some really good exercises about that, about being non-judgmental, because usually when we see each other for the first time, in those first few seconds, it's like, oh, that person's this way, that person's that way. But if we just look at each other a little bit differently in a non-judgmental way, then I think we come together better throughout the week to know each other better and be open to knowing each other better. So I've got some ideas for that.
Fun. Yeah.
And then, of course, my passion is talking about food and nutrition, how we can help our bodies thrive and get healthier. And if weight is an issue, we can talk about that. We can talk about all kinds of things with food, and as we're cooking or as the food comes out and as we're eating. If you have questions, absolutely, I'm a resource for that as well. And then if you want to get all in a circle and ask questions about nutrition and what's best, we can set aside some time for that as well.
Nice.
Yeah. And during the happiness hours is a good time to chit chat back and forth and compare what you're doing with what you've heard about. And there's so many options out there for food, whether it's vegan, vegetarian, pescatarian, paleo, whatever. It's all so confusing. And one thing might be right for one person, but not for somebody else. And so we can get down to the nitty gritty and see if what you're doing is right for you and if you want to change it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's
I'm
good.
looking forward to this. I think it's going to be a really good time with a bunch of good people.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, so let's see. The other thing that we have in the schedule, so as you can see, between Phyllis and I, we're just going to be so happy to work on these things. And I think it's neat too, because I think Phyllis and I have a little bit different approach, where she is like that as far as going straight to nutrition and answering questions and that, kind of more teaching mode, or, that direction. And then I come from a little different direction, from some of the adult learning principles and some of the things I learned as a coach on the Tobacco Quit line, of just ways to interact and ways to have a conversation, letting things come up more organically and working from there. So I think it's nice. So somebody that wants to just go directly and ask a question, should I eat this? And then someone else that's working their way to that topic through some other things that are going on. I think that we both have experience with both of those, and the retreat will give you opportunities to, whether you're hiking and you want to have a conversation one-to-one, and whether it's about food or something bigger, that you're going to have a nice supportive community to be part of this. So the last thing I wanted to mention was this thing that we're going to be doing for dinner on Tuesday night. And this is something that I had the good fortune to do when I was in South Korea, and I stayed at a monastery with some Buddhist monks. And I was reminded of it the other day. I was reading a little book by Thich Nhat Hanh called How to Eat. And he was suggesting have a meal in silence. And the other thing that I'm reminded is when I lived in Ghana, kind of on and off visited Ghana on and off different times. In Ghana, you don't talk while you're eating. Eating is silence, and it's disrespectful to talk while you're eating. So it's a really different...
Who talk with their mouth full.
Exactly. Yeah, I was speaking with somebody about this the other day. I was on a little radio show, and the host is an Italian. He's like,
yeah.
I can't even imagine.
I know.
So, but just to kind of realize that there could be some value in that in the way that Thich Nhat Hanh says it is, he says, just chew your food. Don't chew anything else. Don't chew your worries. Don't chew your plans. Don't chew your regrets or anything else. Just chew your food. And so that's what we'll be doing, is doing this one evening meal that will be eaten in silence. And we'll, just as I did in Korea, we practiced ahead of time of how to navigate getting your food and how the whole process works and what you do at what point of time, because normally we just talk about it, figure it out. So we'll practice ahead of time. So we have Sunday and Monday to chit chat a little bit about that and make a plan. And then I think that you will really enjoy it. It's a really special thing. It's a short part of the experience. Mm-hmm. And if you laugh or something like that, nobody is gonna. It's not really that big of a deal. It's just something fun to try, to just kind of extreme mindfulness, right. Extreme mindful eating.
And it might get some of us out of our comfort zone, which we might need to move.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. So did you think of anything else, Phyllis? Any other questions or any other comments you think we should make before wrapping up?
I can't think of anything else, but, people have got our Facebook comments. If they have questions, they can certainly comment there.
Right.
On the Nourish Facebook page. Get in contact us. Those who sign up and know us can certainly ask questions other ways as well, email or however they want.
Yeah, that's great. And so I guess the last thing is that by signing up for this information session, that you got a coupon by email for $100 off. So make sure you use that, and it is valid through May 10th. Right. So we just really appreciate your interest in this. And so far, everybody who has expressed interest, like every single person, is just so interesting and so amazing. Mm-hmm. That I know it's going to be a really cool group. We're also going to have a Facebook group set up ahead of time, so we'll have an opportunity to get to know each other and do some little exercises ahead of time, so that we're not just coming in cold, but that we already start to know each other.
Right. Did you mention the investment?
Yeah, so the investment, the price of the retreat is $895, but as I was saying, you got a $100 off coupon there. And, I think it's always hard to just come up with a little extra chunk of change to do something out of the ordinary, I think. But at the same time, for me, when I think about how many opportunities have I had, or how many times have I taken just a few days to really just do this extreme self-care and really put myself in this loving circle where the food's going to be great, the nature is going to be great, you're going to have an opportunity to dig deeper, but not in a pressure cooker kind of way.
Right.
It's just going to be a healing experience, even if you don't, have any specific thing that you're working on. I think it's just we really designed it to reconnect you with your higher purpose. And so I think when you consider the investment and you consider your life, that when you see it in that light, that if it is something of interest, that hopefully you can find a way to just sign up by May 10th and save your spot like that. There's not a huge number of rooms. And we do expect it to sell out, and we expect it to sell out by May 10th because that's when these discounts evaporate. So, yeah.
All right, thank you.
All right, so thank you. And Phyllis, I'll let you sign off.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And I am so looking forward to seeing you up in the Colorado mountains in August. I can't wait.
Woohoo. All right. Thanks so much. Thanks, everybody. Okay, bye.